Okay, greetings, brothers and sisters. So this is Tuesday, the 22nd of July. This video will be up Thursday. I just completed a video about Ghislaine Maxwell and just how they're making shit up all the time. It's just ridiculous. It's silly. And this is taken it to a next level, but like it's just reacting to things and trying to just recreate reality. Now, ever since this Jeffrey Epstein thing went south on Trump, he's been trying to just make up his version of reality and expecting all of his supporters to knuckle under to his complete bullshit belief system and changing everything from facts to, dates to reality, any kind of, just everything that happened with Epstein, trying to make it a liberal movement and not a conservative movement, all the things he's done. And so then he took it to this new level here.
Today, President Trump declared his intent to, quote, go after people for what he claims were attempts to interfere in the 2016 election by claiming that Russia was seeking to influence the result. The president insisted that former President Obama was guilty of crimes for what Trump said was his role in weaponizing intelligence.
The leader of the gang was President Obama, Barack Hussein Obama. Have you heard of him? Look, he's...
No. All right, so I'm gonna cover this whole press conference. I'm not going to comment on this here. Not the whole thing. This whole exchange right here.
He's guilty. It's not a question. I like to say, let's give it time. It's there. He's guilty. This was treason.
Okay, so I watched the whole exchange. It's way worse than that. Like, that's bad what he said there, but it's a little bit inconclusive. And CNN, who does nothing but shit on Trump for half of their programming, they didn't need to cut anything out. I mean, it's actually helping Trump here. Usually they cut things out to make him look worse or whatever, but the whole exchange is fucking brutal, right? Like they have, they're in the room. They have their own cameras. That's their footage. It's not like they're worried about copyright shit. It's like, so I'm going to show you the whole exchange in a moment. Let's watch a little bit more of this.
CNN's Kevin Liptak is at the White House for us. Kevin, it's notable this response came during a question about Ghislaine Maxwell, but...
Ghislaine. Yes, it is, because it's a complete distraction, like a complete, like primitive magic, like, like a really bad kid who's trying to learn magic and tries to show it off at a party and sucks, like doing sleight of hand. Like Trump is trying to say, hey, look over here at Obama. Take your eyes off of Epstein and me and look over here at Obama. And nobody's going to buy it. And he's dumb, so he's just stupid, which I'll get into in a bit here.
Can you fact check what the president is suggesting here?
Yeah, and just to underscore, these are very striking comments from the president. He's accusing Barack Obama of sedition. He said he was seditious. He's accusing him of treason. And he says, quote, whether it's right or wrong, it's time to go after people. Clearly the president intent on using...
Okay, so they're trying to go put the, the quotes. You got to hear Trump say it himself. What do you mean right or wrong? So the whole thing is, it's an exaggeration, blah, blah, blah. And so before I show you the full exchange, I want to show you a little Don Lemon reaction to Trump's video. Let me show the Trump video if I can find it first. Then I'll show you Don Lemon's. So Donald Trump, real Donald Trump, Truth Social, he shared this. No one is above the law, which, he got the Supreme Court to say a president's above the law. And, this whole thing that a president can't be prosecuted for what they do. And so this was a whole subtext to this, right? And I'm going to get into that one. I'll come back to that. He's playing the YMCA. And so Obama gets taken out. Trump's laughing. And Obama gets put in handcuffs here. And he's basically, in position here to service. He's at Trump's feet, service Trump. He's putting his head down right between his legs. Trump's laughing at him. He's like right there. This whole thing. And they march him off here. He's sitting in jail. With the fucking music. When you're short on your dough, so, that really, a song that is a gay anthem, like these right-wing Republicans playing this gay anthem that Trump made popular during his whole thing. And so, this is offensive. And after he's going to talk about what he didn't do for Hillary Clinton. I mean, it's just so much bullshit from this guy. And, it isn't presidential. So let me show you this thing with Don Lemon. So Don Lemons, who's trying to do these reaction videos, but no matter how much he's coached, he doesn't really get the purpose of them. And watch him, shaking his head. No, I disapprove. Shake him up. What's there? He's like, huh? He's not even, he's looking at the camera. I saw this yesterday. I had no idea what this is about, but I knew it was something to do with Trump posting something because I could see the little video there. This is how fucked we are, right? This is how fucked. This guy was a journalist on CNN at one point, a journalist in air quotes. So this is Marcos. I don't know if this is Imelda Marcos' son. Remember she had 1,000 pairs of shoes? I mean, they were just ripping off the public blind. I don't know if they're the king, the president, or what. President Marcos. I don't know if this is the same, a relative or whatever. I don't know. But these guys come in here and they get hijacked because Trump's always having controversial shit go on, and no one gives a shit about this guy and what he's doing there, right? And so,
Mr. President, do you support the Justice Department seeking a new interview with Ghislaine Maxwell and do you urge the Attorney General to seek?
I don't know anything about it. They're going to.
Okay, so first, I don't know anything about it. This is a common thing that he says, plausible deniability. I don't know anything about it. It's so fucked up because it's your job to know. He says this about everything. He said it about any kind of controversial thing, and he throws his people under the bus. He says, oh, they're doing a great job, but I don't know anything about it. You should know everything about it because this is about, he's saying that your opinion doesn't matter. I don't give a shit about this. I don't care how upset my base is or whatever. Ghislaine Maxwell has dirt on him because he was good friends with her, and Jeffrey Epstein wished her well, which I showed in my last video. He wished her well. Why would anybody wish her well, right? But of course he knows about it. He totally has to know about it. If he doesn't know about it, Joe Biden didn't know all the time. He was asked questions and he clearly didn't know what he was being asked because he had dementia, but they weren't telling him shit because he couldn't remember anything anyway. And he pretended to know. Presidents blow things off and pretend to know because you're never supposed to say, I don't know anything about that. And he's supposed to know. Just fucking, it's so stupid. I don't know anything about that.
The Attorney General to seek.
I don't know anything about it. They're going to what? Meet her?
They're going to,
he finds out news from reporters all the time. That isn't right because he doesn't listen to his briefings or he denies knowing. Sometimes he knows, sometimes he doesn't. But he shouldn't be learning shit from reporters, right?
Deputy Attorney General has reached out to Ghislaine Maxwell's attorney asking for a new interview.
Yeah, I don't know about it, but I think it's something that sounds appropriate to do, yeah.
Do you have any concern that your Deputy Attorney General, as your former attorney, would be conducting the interview, given...
No, I have no concern. He's a very talented person. He's very smart. I didn't know that they were going to do it. I don't really follow that too much.
I don't follow that too much. I don't follow it too much. You're following every day because you're about to try to shit all over that with your own bullshit story about Barack Obama. Of course you're following. You're plummeting in your base's opinion of you. And this thing isn't going the fucking way. I thought it was going away, but it's come back again. And they're going to bring it back as much as they can. You're having to respond to questions all the time. You're I don't even know anything about it. He's just so fucking stupid, right? Just the lies. He's just pretending shit, he can say anything and reverse what he said before and change the facts. And, in real time while there's a crisis going on. And everybody knows he's making shit up, right?
It's sort of a witch hunt, just a continuation of the witch hunt. The witch hunt that you should be talking about is they caught President Obama absolutely.
So that's a witch hunt? The witch hunt you're supposed to be talking about, not the witch hunt they were doing on me, the witch hunt I'm now doing on Obama. That's what he just fucking said. That's what this fucking R-word just fucking said. This fucking moron just fucking said. He just said, don't pay attention to the witch hunt about Ghislaine Maxwell that I say that's from the Democrats, but it's really something the Republicans have been pushing. Don't follow that witch hunt. Follow my witch hunt. I have a witch hunt you should be following. My witch hunt's so much better than than their wish hunt. My wish hunt. What about my wish hunt? Like, what the fuck are you talking about, dude?
Told Tulsi Gabbard what they did to this country in 2016, starting in 2016.
Okay, so he said that when the Jeffrey Epstein died was 2018. So that's 2 years after what he's talking about here. Nobody gives a shit about 2016. Nobody cares. You ended up winning the election, and there's been so much shit that's happened since then, right? But he's thinking that if he goes after Obama, that might be something that the base is more interested than talking about Jeffrey Epstein. He's fucking really stupid to think that. Nobody gives a shit about Obama being prosecuted for election fraud in 2016 for the Russia hoax. Like, he's trying to take that and replace it, thinking that if he does that, it'll distract everybody from the Epstein thing, and it's just making it fucking worse. People are getting pissed off that you're doing that shit, right? And they're going to end up like siding with Obama over you in this thing because you're not fucking hearing them. They're saying you better release these motherfucking files, and if you're in it, you're fucked, right? And so he's trying to pull some kind of childish magic trick, like don't pay attention to the man behind the curtain. It's Obama you want to listen to. Even though a couple of days ago I said it was 6 years since Epstein died. It's been a long time. I don't know. But he was giving more credence to Kennedy's assassination. A lot more people are a lot more passionate about Epstein. And now he wants to go back 2 more years to Obama that nobody cared about. No one, when you were running for president, said, we want you to rehash the 2016 election. Well, they don't even want to rehash the 2020 election that you said was rigged. People just want to move on from that shit, but they want Jeffrey Epstein. They want some fucking billionaires being locked up and people being embarrassed, and they want the full Monty on this one, bro. And you better fucking deliver. There's none of this bullshit that you're trying to pull here.
But going up to 2020 and the election, they tried to rig the election, and they got caught. And there should be very severe consequences for that. When we caught Hillary Clinton, I said, you know what? Let's not go too far here. It's the ex-wife of a president, and I thought it was sort of terrible. And I let her off the hook.
It's not your job to let anybody off the hook. You have an independent Justice Department. Like, he's violating the Constitution left and right here, right? He's violating the Constitution left and right. He's just making shit up. Now, this thing with Hillary pissed off the right wing, and he promised something and didn't deliver on the promises. And nobody said you had permission to say, oh, let's not go after Hillary. And that you would tell your Justice Department, which is supposed to be independent of the presidency, it's against the fucking rules for you to go in there and say, oh, let her go, but prosecute this guy. You could pardon her. You could have pardoned her if she got, that would have been a gesture. That would just piss people off, though. And so you said lock her up, and you said to her you'd be in jail in the debate when she said, I'm glad it's lucky we don't have someone with the temperament of Donald Trump running our Justice Department. And he said, yeah, because you'd be in jail. And that was your best moment, and you shit all over it with this whole bullshit that you protected her. You claimed you protected her, and you're doing it again here. And then you're saying, but, now, because the Republicans are going after me and my supporters are going after me about Epstein, and I can't release that because, fuck, I'm the biggest Epstein guy in the world. Me and him were butt buddies, so I don't want that coming out. So let's try to make some bullshit up about Obama and go after him. Like, what the fuck, right? Like, you don't want to go after a first lady, but you're going to go after a president who is supposedly has immunity because you got the Supreme Court to say a president can't be convicted of anything they do as president, which is why you're trying to do all the shit you're doing. And you're going to fuck yourself because if they have to rule again and reverse that and put Obama in jail, which they're not, this thing isn't going to get off the fucking ground because it's so fucking stupid. Like, it's so fucking stupid, right? It's just like you're trying to throw anything against the wall to stop them from going after you for Epstein. But it isn't the Democrats that are going after it. It's your followers that you fucking broke promises to. And because you know that you're fucking completely complicit. Like, it's so fucked up, this thing.
I'm very happy I did, but it's time to start after what they did to me, and Whether it's right or wrong, it's time to go after people.
What do you mean whether it's right or wrong? What they did to you? It's time to go after people? No, you don't go after people as a president. You don't pick and choose. You're supposed to be like whoever breaks the law gets punished, right? And if you want to pardon them, you pardon them. But like that's not up to you. And so you're saying we're going after people? Why? Why now? Like only because of Epstein. And Obama didn't do that to you. Biden administration did it to you. He had nothing to do with them going after you. And they didn't really go after you because you're still alive and you're president. If they really went after you, you'd either be in jail or you'd be dead. And so that they wanted you in there, and the Democrats wanted you in there because they're your biggest asset. You're their biggest asset. Like it's so fucked up what he's saying here. Like all this stuff is not appropriate for a president to say. It shows you how degraded it is because the media isn't even going to cover how appropriate it is because he does this all the time. He's saying shit that is like criminal shit, right? Like shit that he can't do as president.
Obama's been caught directly. So people say, oh, you know, a group. It's not a group. It's Obama. His orders are on the paper. The papers are signed. The papers came right out of their office. They sent everything to be highly classified. Well, the highly classified's been released.
You're going to release the Obama shit, but not the Epstein? Like, what the fuck, right? You can't get this any more wrong.
And what they did in 2016 and in 2020 is very criminal. It's criminal at the highest level. So that's really the things you should be talking about. I know nothing about the other, but I think it's appropriate that they do go.
May I ask you
I know nothing about the other. How do you not know anything about it? Like, this is something you'd be implicated in. The stuff to do with Epstein. You know nothing about it, right?
About that, Mr. President, Tulsi Gabbard has submitted a criminal referral to the Department of Justice. From your perspective, who should the DOJ target as part of their investigation? What specific figures in the Obama administration?
Well, based on what I read, and I read pretty much what you read.
First of all, you don't read shit. Like, we've established that, right? But, like, this is just bogus stuff.
President Obama, he started it. And Biden was there with him. And Comey was there. And Clapper, the whole group was there.
Clapper was there. Fucking Clapper. Get Clapper.
Brennan, they were all there in a room. Right here. This was the room.
This room. They were in this room. This very room. They were doing me dirty here.
This is much more beautiful than it was then, but that's okay. I have nice pictures up. They came out of the vaults. They were in there for 100 years. This is much more beautiful.
It's much but the same room. I made it more beautiful because I'm better.
We have the Declaration of Independence now in the room, which wasn't here. I guess people didn't feel too good about putting it here, but I do. But you know what?
But you don't support it or read it or the Constitution. You're shitting all over those things.
If you look at those papers, they have them stone cold, and it was President Obama. It wasn't lots of people all over the place. It was them too. But the leader of the gang was President Obama, Barack Hussein Obama. Have you heard of him? Okay,
so that shit, Barack Hussein Obama, the Hussein is to make him sound like he's a Muslim. Like it's a dick move. I mean, it's totally Trump does that kind of shit, which is, that's Trump. But he's doing this in the context of, he was asked a question about Ghislaine Maxwell, who procured underage girls in the worst possible way for his best buddy, Jeffrey Epstein. And she did for him. And he had a relationship with her. And she's going to be questioned. Of course, she isn't going to say shit because they're going to make sure that she doesn't. But at least about Trump. But, everyone knows that he's a part of this now. Like, people know on some level, even his most ardent supporters. And him coming out and trying to fucking, Muslim up Barack Obama in some hateful rant to get this, turned away from him, right?
And except for the fact that he gets shielded by the press for his entire life, that's the one look, he's guilty. It's not a question, I like to...
Wait a minute. What do you mean he's guilty? If he's guilty, you're guilty. If he's guilty, you're guilty over Epstein. If he's guilty, you're guilty of all these other things that they put up against you. That's why you have lawyers. You've exhausted... Trump has more lawyers and more court time than any other person. He's sued more people and been sued by more people. And there's the justice system. And for him to say he's guilty, without the guy being, tried yet on, circumstantial evidence that's whatever that shit is. And, just as a distraction from his own debacle with being a fucking, this guy's a pervert. He's a pedo. That he was, doing pedophile activities with with Jeffrey Epstein and supporting the guy. And then Jeffrey Epstein's murder or whatever it was took place during his watch. He is the fucking scandal. He's the scumbag. There's no bigger scumbag than Donald Trump. And he's going after Obama for something no one gives a shit about and calling him Hussein.
Say, let's give it time. It's there. He's guilty. This was treason.
Okay, so if it's treason, then Obama, Biden, and Comey, and whatever the other guy's name is, I forgot already, would all be put to death, right? This is treason's punishable by execution. So treason is very hard to prove. It isn't treason what they did here, right? Like, this is political bullshit. Maybe it's criminal. Maybe there's something that could be, But again, he's not doing this sincerely, and there isn't a sincere movement out there that wants him to lock up Obama when, he didn't lock up Hillary, and now he's distracting from Epstein, right?
This was every word you can think of. They tried to steal the election.
It's every word in the fucking dictionary. Every word applies to this.
They tried to obfuscate the election. They did things that nobody's ever even...
Stealing elections is something that goes on every fucking election, right? There's cheating. You guys are all cheaters. And so he's making it sound like it's the worst thing in history. Which is worse, stealing an election or being involved in a pedophile ring? And, when all your supporters, a good portion of them are very ardent against pedophiles like most people are, right? Which is worse, Trump?
Even imagined, even in other countries. You've seen some pretty rough countries. This man has seen some pretty rough countries, but you've never seen anything like that. And we have all of the documents. And from what Tulsi told me, she's got thousands of additional documents coming. So, President...
Thousands, because it always gets better when there's more documents that you'll never read, right?
Obama, it was his concept, his idea, but he also got it from crooked Hillary Clinton. Crooked is a $3 bill. Hillary Clinton and her group, the Democrats, spent $12 million to Christopher Steele to write up a report that was a total fake report. Took 2 years to figure that out, but it came out that it was a total fake report. It was made up fiction. And they used that. Now, the one thing they weren't able to do was to, and probably the only thing I respect...
You see this? He keeps on bringing these things back up like his people care more about this than they fucking don't. Someone should tell them they don't care more about this. There's nothing they care more about than Epstein. You might try some other strategy, but this is not the fucking winning strategy, right, bro? Like fucking...
about the press in years is the press refused to write it before the election. They refused to put it in. The Steele report was a disaster. All lies, all fabrication, all admitted, an admitted fraud. She paid $12 million and the Democrats for that report to a wise guy named Christopher Steele.
He's a wise guy. This guy's a wise guy. He's committed treason, too. In fact, the whole Democratic Party committed treason. We're going to assassinate half the fucking country. Everyone who voted for Hillary or fucking Joe Biden or fucking Kamala should be charged with treason.
Phony report, and they wanted to get that report in before the election. And I'll tell you what, I talk about all the time, the fake news, how bad it is. But in this case, they wouldn't do it. They saw it, they read it, and they said...
So the fake news saved your presidency? Well, that tells you everything you need to know, right?
We don't believe it. And it was only after, substantially, like a month and a half after the election, that it got printed, and it was a big wisp. It was just like a bang of nothing.
Like this thing that you're doing now is going to be a nothing. Nobody gives a shit about this, Trump. I mean, they'll play a little bit of this on Fox News. Really dumbass people who aren't, don't know, they aren't triggered by the Jeffrey Epstein thing. You're a real dumb fuck for supporters. The dumbest of the dumb fucks. But other than that, this thing ain't fucking going away, right? And even if you charge Obama and that's one story, there's still going to be the Epstein story. There's nothing you can do. There's nothing you can do, bro. You're fucking so desperate and pathetic. and just trying to change reality. Like everyone can see what you're trying to do. You're throwing Obama under the bus so that you can think that the Republicans hate him so much that they'll forget about you. It's not going to happen. Even Hillary, you could go after Hillary, who they really want to see to go to jail. It's still not as much as they care about Epstein. It's just not even, it's not even something that you can think about equating.
Because the election had ended. If that report had gotten published by the New York Times or somebody, and I respect the Times for maybe only this, because they're crooked as you can be. They're a terrible paper, a crooked, corrupt paper.
All right. I don't think there's anything more here. You get the idea. And so it seems to be very loose interpretation from what CNN said. They can't be believed either. From that other report, I watched a little bit more of that. That they're taking a loose interpretation about this, but it's a nothing fucking burger. Like everybody knows, like this story, we'll see how long this lasts. So today is the 22nd. By the time this video airs, is this even going to be a thing? Right? By fucking Thursday, today's Tuesday, is this even going to be a fucking thing? Right? It's what a fucking idiot. And how stupid does he think his supporters are? Like he says he has the smartest people, but only real dumb fucks would buy into this. And if they do buy into it, it's even, that's just as good. Because that means that they're so dumb, they're not going to buy into this. They're not. They like every time he does something like this, it just reminds people that, they're trying to make the Epstein story die, and it comes back around, right? And people get insulted and fucking just all of it. I think he's going senile a bit. I mean, he has been for a while, but he's fucking lost it. So Trump reveals it all. I listened to him a little bit more of this. He goes on and on, rambling, restates things, saying the same thing over and over again. He's clearly lost it. Like, he's lost it. And, he doesn't have the kind of handlers that Joe Biden did. So when he loses it, he just keeps on fucking burying himself, right?
Say two things very badly. It's got a nice name, but it's really, in my opinion, it's a terrible paper. And it can be corrupt. But just so you know, they didn't take the Steele report. It was the dossier. Remember the famous dossier?
This was all public knowledge. Like, everybody who was around there knew about this. This is Trump's, opinion about what happened. But everyone was there for this, right? Like, they all should have they should be aware of this. They have memories, right? Like, he's just...
I called it the fake news dossier. The news wouldn't publish it. And I'm amazed. They had 2.5 months. It was finished. 2.5 months. That was supposed to be what was going to happen. And it got published a couple of months after the election. And frankly, nobody cared too much about it. But that was a big thing. No. We caught Hillary Clinton. We caught Barack Hussein Obama.
Hussein.
They're the ones. And then you have many, many people under them. Susan Rice. They're all there. The names are all there. And I guess they figured they're going to put this in classified information and nobody will ever see it again. But it doesn't work that way.
How does it work, Mr. Government, right? Knows everything about the government.
And it's the most unbelievable thing I think I've ever read. So you ought to take a look at that and stop talking about nonsense because...
See, there it is. Take a look at that and stop talking about nonsense. Meaning Jeffrey Epstein. Now, Trump should be aware of the media, how the media works. I mean, he just should, like all these people should. And Fox News will give this maybe a little bit of a run, but they realize, they got to think of their viewership, and nobody gives a shit about this. This is just rehashing something that, what are you going to do, put Obama in jail for 2016 election that you won? Like, come on, it ain't happening. Like, it's not going to, it has no legs as a story or as anything else. I mean, but he said it right there. That was the key line right there. Instead of just talking about this, instead of talking about all that other nonsense, I mean, he's giving away all his, he's just like a child. You don't think that people can see that you're trying to deflect? And I mean, these people that are turning on you, like Tucker Carlson and Candace Owen and all those other people, they're going to see through this and call you out on it. Like, it's just embarrassing, right?
classified information, and nobody will ever see it again, but it doesn't work that way. And it's the most unbelievable thing I think I've ever read. So you ought to take a look at that and stop talking about nonsense, because this is big stuff. Never has a thing like this happened in the history of our country. And by the way,
You know, it's no one believes, because you've said that. You boy who cried fucking wolf, bro. You've said that shit over and over again. Like, that's what you say. This is your, like, what you talk about. This is how you talk. I mean, this is the biggest, the best. Nothing like this ever happened. Most unbelievable thing I've ever saw. Like, nobody buys that shit anymore, right? Like, people want to know about Epstein, and the more that you withhold, the more that people are going to want it. Like, the more that you don't deliver, and, you know, the people are never going to be satisfied now with what you give them.
way, it morphed into the 2020 race, and the 2020 race was rigged, and it was a rigged election. And because it was rigged, we have millions of people in our country. We had inflation. We solved the inflation problem. But millions and millions of people came into our country because of that. And people that shouldn't have been, people from gangs and from jails and from...
Which, that story's all falling apart, right? Like, he's trying to, you know, his big thing was immigration. So his big issue that he had was immigration. That was the thing most people were concerned about. But now that fucking, you know, the Jeffrey Epstein is something that's far more appealing to people, and, you know, people want some resolution over. So immigration isn't going to top that. Bringing back this election bullshit stuff is, you almost give us a shit. You're president now, right? Under a country that's falling apart. You're goofy fucking terrorists, all the bullshit you're doing. I mean, I don't know how much they know about that. But, like, it's, you know, I mean, it isn't like he's doing something great here. He's all over the fucking place. He's goofy. And maybe they bought into it, but only because they bought into his cult of personality. Like, once you lose that, you know, this sort of halo that they put on him, then they start looking at his policies and looking at his fucking personality. And the reality of it is, Jeffrey Epstein and him are fucking tied to the hip, right? Like, you know, they're connected. And everything Jeffrey Epstein did, he was a part of. And that makes him like the fucking, you know, the devil, right?
mental institutions, people that we don't want in our country, and people that we're getting out, dangerous people. 11,888 murderers, many of them 50.
Like, just fucking, like, he's meeting with a guy from the Philippines. He's just hijacked this whole thing to try to deflect from, like, it's not going to work, bro. Like, you're fucking clueless about how much, I mean, he's like so fucking desperate.
More than 50% murdered more than one person. I hate to say this with such a distinguished guest, but, you know, they asked me a question. I got to answer the question.
You're not answering the fucking question. The question was about Ghislaine Maxwell. You left her in the dust 30 seconds into the answer, and you've been talking 10 minutes about something no one gives a shit about, and it sounds like you're fucking losing it, bro.
No, Barack Hussein Obama is the ringleader. Hillary Clinton was right there with him, and so was Sleepy Joe Biden. And so were the rest of them. Comey, Clapper, the whole group.
Clapper, fucking Clapper.
And they
Clap on, clap off. Clap on. The Clapper.
tried to rig an election, and they got caught. And then they did rig the election in 2020. And then because I knew I won that election by a lot, I did it a third time, and I won in a landslide. Every swing state won the popular vote. But I won that all the same way in 2020. And look at the damage that was caused.
How crucial is the ammunition hub that the U.S. plans?
Okay, so I don't know if he goes back in on this thing, but, you know, like, he's not getting it. Like, the more that he deflects, the more it's driving people nuts, right? And the more, you know, we got Mike Johnson is trying to fucking now act as a road barrier, and, like, it's becoming a bipartisan thing, and it looks like he's guilty as fuck, right? Now, anything that comes out with his name associated with Epstein, it comes out, they're going to be like, oh, this is why he was fucking deflecting. I mean, so, like, you know, and it's not, like, there's never going to be resolution. This is probably all it's going to be. Like, there's probably going to be no new revelations. Like, they'll just they'll release certain little bits of shit that won't trace back to Trump. And it just depends on how long people stay obsessed, or they're willing to leave Trump over this, or whatever it is. And that's it. Like, whatever happens now, this is it. And then, whatever effects it has on the midterms is the next big thing. And that still isn't going to change shit, right? But, like, this is him in fucking turmoil. Like, that's a guy who just fucking, he's just lost it. Like, that was just fucking ridiculous shit he was just saying. Here's a pro-Trumper asking him a question about the fake assassination attempt.
I've also got a question. I find it a very interesting world that we know more about two people at a Coldplay concert just hours after that viral video than we know of Thomas Crooks 1 year after attempting to assassinate you.
It's crazy. Why? I don't even know why that is. It's almost like he didn't exist, like he never existed. Like he's not even a real guy. It's like, it's weird. Like these two people get fired and their Coldplay thing, I didn't even get to cover that. But, like this Comic Crook guy, he tries to shoot you and he disappeared. No one even talks about it anymore.
What is holding back the investigation on Thomas Crooks?
Well, they've reported to me and they've told me things, and they really say they haven't found anything that was abnormal. I would say this.
Other than he tried to shoot the president in some fake assassination, like he's trying to.
The Secret Service was very brave because they were right there and they jumped on me. They made a mistake. They should have had somebody on that roof, and they should have had communication with the local police, who also, they did a very good job, but they made some mistakes, and we have a whole different group of people now.
Like how bad he holds people accountable, especially Joe Biden people, and how he slams them, but he's giving them a complete pass, and he left after he got shot. Like he gets pissed when people make the smallest mistakes that inconvenience him or cause him issues. He's constantly railing on, this, that, and the other thing of these former administrations and wants people fired. But these guys, almost cost him his life. And he's like, yeah, they made a few mistakes, but I'm a very forgiving person. Like, fuck you, right? It's fake as fuck.
I don't think anything can happen, but I think we have the best people anywhere in the world right now. And I think they've learned. And, they went into...
Did they learn not to let your head pop up like when you're pumping your fist in WWE fashion with ketchup dripping down your ear, or dry ketchup on your ear, not dripping?
And very, in great detail. They gave me the whole thing. And what can I do? They say that it was just a nut job that was looking to...
Is that their professional diagnosis? It's just a nut job that we know nothing about? Like he's pretty much a myth? How many people even remember the guy's name?
Do this, and I spoke with the FBI, the new FBI. I spoke to the FBI. If it was the old FBI, I wouldn't have believed a thing they said, because the old FBI under Comey was crooked as hell. He was one of the most crooked. Everybody should read the Horowitz report. Unfortunately, Bill Barr didn't use it, but the Horowitz report, not appointed by me, it was a report on Comey and the FBI. It is one of the worst shots at a human being I think I've ever seen. In fact, the New York Times did an editorial that was one of the worst editorials I've ever seen about anybody. That was about Comey. You ought to go back and get, and Barr didn't use it because he didn't.
Okay, so you're deflecting again. You don't want to talk about your assassination. This is your big moment where you said fight, 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 and you got shot and you popped up like a man and jumped up like a WWE wrestler, pumping up the crowd. Like, you don't want to talk about that. You want to talk about Horowitz and fucking Bill Barr and Comey. Like, it seems like you're deflecting again, right? You don't like talking about the assassination attempt, your big moment, because it's fake, right? Is that it? It's because it's fucking fake?
The guts to use it, or something happened. I don't know. Too bad. He went to Mr. Durham. Instead of doing the Durham, all they had to use is the Horowitz report. And I always felt badly for Horowitz, frankly, because...
Okay, so the question was about why they haven't found anything about Thomas Crooks. And you got Marcos over here, so, you got another foreign leader. And you're going on a rant about Horowitz and Comey after saying, yeah, he was a nut job. Like, that's the American government at work, that somebody took a shot at you was a nut job. That's what it is. He's just a nut job. Okay, good. We know that. All right, great. Nut jobs. Look out for nut jobs.
He's a Democrat, I guess. He was appointed by a Democrat. But that report has gotten lost, and it shouldn't be lost. You should all go back. It should be mandatory.
Which is more important, assassination attempt on the president or some bullshit stuff about an FBI guy you didn't like? That's long since, he just fired his daughter. He's long since gone. You know, I mean, you're talking about Epstein. You're like, why are we even talking about this guy? And you're talking about Comey and these other people. You have the balls to say why people aren't talking about Epstein. And Thomas Chris, he's just a nut job.
Story reading. Go back and read the Horowitz report on Comey and
So Howard's report, is that what you're saying? The Horowitz,
his cronies.
his cronies.
And you'll see exactly, we're going to add that to all the stuff that we found. It just confirms it.
Yeah, we're going to throw that in there with 1,000-page documents and all this other shit we're combing through, just to show you that Barack Hussein Obama, and those are the guys that need to be, you know, let's not really get to the bottom of assassination attempt on a former president and now sitting president. Let's forget about that. It's nut jobs. But let's fucking focus on this thing that no one gives a shit about.
But what we found is even more so. Now, we found this isn't like evidence this is like proof.
No way, it's like fucking proof.
Irrefutable proof that Obama was seditious, that Obama was trying to lead a coup. And it was with Hillary Clinton, with all these other people, but Obama headed it up.
He was the head of the snake.
You know, I get a kick when I hear everyone talks about people I never even heard of. It was this one. No. It was Obama. He headed it up. And it says so right in the papers. Got everything. This is the biggest scandal.
Okay, well, so you start off talking about you're treating your assassination attempt just like you're treating Epstein. We already know you're guilty with Epstein. So if A equals B and B equals C, A equals C.
The history of our country, and it really goes on to even the auto pen, because it all relates to the same thing. It all started the same sick minds. You have an auto pen, which is a tremendous. Well, we don't have a president. We have an auto pen that's.
Yeah, now we have a president who he finds out stuff from the reporters asking him questions because he's totally unaware and uninterested in governing, and shit's going on. He claims not to know anything. Either it's plausible deniability, a lack of curiosity or interest, or a combination of both. But, you know, Biden had the auto pen.
Everything. I'll bet you sign everything. You don't have auto pens. Everybody. Who doesn't sign? You're the president of a country. But it's all that whole thing leading right up to the end of it is the auto pen. And the auto pen was used by people, and Biden knew nothing about it. Just like when they ask you a question, like, I don't know anything about that. That's not my thing. I don't know that. What are you talking about? I don't know. What do you say? What do you tell me about it? They were signing documents that he... All right, so this is this fucking fish boy motherfucker, right? So at the end of the press conference, it's already happened. There's, you know, the back half of it. He's calling, they have these guys come in who are alternative media, which I said he should have done his first term. But not like these fucking shill motherfuckers, right? Like real alternative media. I said Trump should have ignored CNN, MSNBC, and even Fox if, you know, they were being shitty. You know, this is before Trump shit the bed on Operation Warp Speed and all that. And, you know, I said he should have his own platform like he has now. Remember, they deplatformed him. And he had no way to speak to American people when the whole election thing was going on. But he actually did what I thought he should do, but now it sucks way worse. He's got all these right-wing dope yes men who believe in his bullshit, especially now that he's gone fucking nuts. And so he gets these guys to ask these questions over and over again here. Committee, Cryan, Adam Kinzinger, and Democrats, and he gave them a pardon. Do you have something else, guys? So he lets these guys do follow-up questions.
One more thing on Adam Schiff. Director Pulte reports that Adam Schiff claims he lived in a one-bedroom apartment. Now, how does a family of four?
So that's like something he wants to talk about. Like Trump wants to, you know, Adam Schiff is somehow, he's being investigated for fraud or some bullshit like that. And, you know, it's nothing compared to fucking Jeffrey Epstein. You know, and then the stuff with Marcos. And then these guys at the end here. Are you from the Philippines?
Yes, sir. I'm from the Philippines. How far are we from achieving?
Well, good. Very
tragic incident.
So the only thing...
I'll go back here a second.
Visiting an off-duty CBP officer who was allegedly shot this weekend by an illegal alien who came into the country during the previous administration.
Right.
What is your message to any...
So that's just a leading question with all the stuff with implying how bad Biden did and, you know, doing anything to distract from Jeffrey Epstein. And Trump, of course, talks about immigration. And then the guy has a follow-up.
And I think it was the people that surrounded that beautiful, resolute desk right behind you for that, because they cheat. You know, they're so good at cheating, they don't need that. But the vote, and the second reason is they hate our country.
They hate America.
I think they hate our country.
They do.
Actually,
And just, let's talk about that, but not Jeffrey Epstein.
they do. And it's the biggest problem. I mean, much of our time is spent with, we have the strongest border anywhere in the world now. Prior to election time, they allowed millions and millions of people to come into you saw it. They'd open the gates. If you took an Alabama LSU
Okay, this might be.
worst ones, and we had a man shot yesterday, a police officer.
Okay, so I think there was another question somewhere over here.
Right.
What is your message to any local leaders who continue to push sanctuary city policies after this nearly tragic incident?
So this guy asked numerous questions, and they're all it's like Trump wrote those questions himself. It's so gross. And again, it's good to have people who are alternative media, but not this people who believe in Trump's fucking delusionary world that he's created. I mean, it's so fucking greasy. And he's so desperate to change the fucking narrative. Like, I hope it just sticks for the rest of his fucking presidency. I hope that this just continues on. I don't know how it will, and I don't, I mean, it would get boring to some extent, but it isn't boring now because I was getting sick of it. And, I know that you're never going to find out and don't really need to find out anything more about Jeffrey Epstein. But now this is about Trump blocking and covering up for this, for himself and other people, and which has clearly happened. And fucking the Trumpers know it. And he doesn't know how to fucking change the narrative, and he's doing a shitty job. Like, he should just stop talking about it. He should just say, yeah, we'll get it out as soon as possible. He keeps on trying to deflect. He keeps on trying to change the fucking story. He should just, pretend to go along and say nothing else. But he can't help himself. And every time he says something else, he insults the people who are into it. And he lies about it being some kind of Barack Hussein Obama issue and whoever else, right, when it's clearly not. But anyways, let's move on to the next thing here. Okay, greetings, brothers and sisters. Wednesday, July 23rd. There's some more stuff about Trump and Epstein, but this is coming down to how dumb the Trumpers are. That's just all this is about at this point. It's kind of funny because, it's just getting worse and worse. And, it's, I don't know how much people pay attention. But at least to the news, but people are obsessed with this Epstein thing far more than I am. I quit following his second go round when I saw that it was a mainstream thing. It was taken over by the Cubies. That it was going to end up like this or something like it. I didn't know Trump was going to implode, but I knew there was going to be nothing that came out of it. It was just there was just a mystery that was never going to be solved. It was going to be this thing, like all these things are. Michael Jackson, all these these big stories, like whatever it is, something like that. Where any celebrity deaths, that seems suspicious. I mean, there's so many of them. Prince, the dude from Full House, whatever his name is, can't remember his name. It's early in the morning, kind of groggy here. We just got newborn chicks, chickens, baby chickens. Anyways, Bob Saget. Bob Saget's weird death, and even Sanjay Gupta was calling bullshit on that, right? And it's just the things that you're never going to get answers for. And Epstein was a big one. And but Trump imploding like he is hilarious.
3 guests on this show who either knew Epstein or knew Trump have all used the exact same words to describe Trump and Epstein's relationship over the past week as we've been talking to them and you've heard them.
Besties.
And they have done this totally unprompted. So here is a former Trump business executive one of Epstein's former girlfriends, and an Epstein accuser who says she had a troubling incident with Trump. They all said the exact same thing here on Outfront.
They were best friends.
They were best friends.
Was his best friend.
It's crazy. It's almost like a talking point.
You heard them, and right there, Jack O'Donnell, Trump's former business associate, talking about what Epstein meant to Trump.
I mean, it's almost like a coordinated effort. It's crazy. That just who would have thought they were besties?
Are people, right, who each met Epstein and Trump at different times, in different places, and just to state the obvious, in totally different capacities. And yet they all concur on this crucial thing. They say that when they knew them, Trump and Epstein were best friends. So in just a moment, I'm going to speak to Mark Epstein. He is the brother of Jeffrey Epstein.
He's got a brother? Is he a pedo?
About all of this. Out front now, Mark Epstein, the brother of Jeffrey Epstein. And Mark, you know, from what you know, from what you saw, how close was your brother to Donald Trump?
I bet he says they're besties.
They were very close. They were good friends. Jeffrey used to sometimes tell me things that Donald said that were funny. I know Donald was in Jeff's office a lot back in the 90s. It's documented that Donald flew on Jeff's plane a number of times. I don't know if they ever checked, but I know Jeff flew on Donald's plane also. I don't know if they've ever looked at his flight logs. And they were good friends. I mean, I flew on Jeff's plane. It's known I was on a plane in 1999, flying up from Florida, and Donald was with us. You know, and we were all joking around. They were good friends.
So, you know, tell me about that. I know there was something on that flight that.
Somehow Jeffrey's brother sounds a little bit more believable than anybody else. Sounds like an old-time New Yorker. He was on the Epstein, the Louis Express.
You remember about your brother and Trump. What is it?
Well, it was a funny thing when we were talking, and, well, stick a pin in that. A couple weeks or a week before that flight, I was talking to Jeffrey, and he told me that he was talking to Donald, and he asked Donald, how come you sleep with so many married women? And Donald's answer was, because it's so wrong. Now, amongst guys, it was a funny line, and then when we were on the plane a week or two later, Jeffrey asked Donald the same question. I know he did that for my benefit, so that I could hear Donald say it. And Jeffrey asked him, how come you sleep with so many married women? And Donald said, because it's so wrong. Now, it's a funny line, but the answer is not the poignant part of the story here. The question is the poignant part. Because for Jeffrey to ask him that question, number one, he would have to know that Donald slept with a lot of married women, so and he probably got that information from Donald. And
it
also,
implies a confidence.
That's not the kind of question you ask a casual acquaintance. You know, how come you slept with so many married women? That's a question you ask a good friend that you can get away with asking those kind of questions. So that gives you an idea of how friendly they were.
Yes, it does. It does. It certainly gives that perception.
They were besties. Mark Epstein actually sounds very believable. If this is like just not some AI voice.
That he has been willing to say about your brother. I want to play them for you.
I was not a fan of Jeffrey Epstein. I threw him out of a club. I didn't want anything to do with him. Jeffrey Epstein was not somebody that I respected.
That does not fit with what you're telling me, Mark.
Yeah, I understand it doesn't. But he's trying to cover his butt. I mean, look, I understand people trying to distance themselves from Jeffrey because of what he was charged with and the circumstances he found himself in. I understand that. You know, but I know that they were good friends, and I witnessed it myself.
You mentioned something a moment ago that made me think of this, you know, something that the White House told us yesterday.
You know, I mean, Trump is saying that, and there's images of them together. I guess there's a new video coming out. And there's all these images and pictures and hundreds of them in different venues. And all these people saying they hung out. Like, that's all you need to know. Like, you don't even need to know anything else. That Trump was hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein because, you know, more so than Jeffrey Epstein's, like, people, Trump's the number one person on his list. I mean, they were like besties, like, you know. I mean, you can tell from some of their videos and what he said. He's a terrific guy. Loves to party, likes young girls, likes beautiful women almost as much as I do. And so, all the stuff that comes out with them about them is believable from the video evidence with the pictures that of them together. So Trump, like, this idea of Jeffrey Epstein that's there in the so-called truth community is, anybody hanging out with him, close with him, is suspect of being this kind of person. And Trump already had those kind of allegations against him because of things he said, grabbed by the pussy, and, just all the cheating that he did with his wives, all the stuff that he did, right? He's just a real scoundrel, right? He's a real womanizer. And then buying the Miss Teen USA pageant, all those other things. And so, the pieces all fit together that Trump is all over those documents that he was using. He was flying back and forth with Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein was flying back and forth with him. And they were probably, Trump had his own little house on Epstein Island, right? And so the only thing was that Trumpers were so stupid and so delusional that they excused any of Trump's association. Like, Trump has more association with Jeffrey Epstein than Bill Clinton does and all these other people. Of course, Bill Clinton and Trump were friends. They were all hanging out together. And he, basically pardoned. He didn't prosecute Hillary Clinton when he said he had her dead to rights. And so Trump is giving you all the Trumpers all the information they need to know about what a piece of shit he is and how he's not one of them and how he's an elitist. He's not a real Republican. He's a rhino. He was a Democrat since 2009. And he and Jeffrey Epstein were the best of friends, and they hung out. And so if anybody's culpable of being complicit in all these things, it's Trump. And then Trump basically doing everything in his power to say he wasn't going to go after the Epstein files, even as a candidate, never mind as a president, because he makes promises and bullshits people when he's a candidate, like all politicians do, and Trump's the worst. And so, like, it's just fucking obvious. And it's just how stupid are the Trumpers? Like, how desperate and stupid are they? That's what, like, it's just, it's overwhelming fucking evidence that there's a connection there. And, it's like what I said before, why are you believing in politicians? There's no political solution. And everyone should know this. Like, you look at what Joe Biden was and it was as a candidate and what he became as a fucking presidential candidate and a president, and like his senility and his fucking just being, just totally sucking on every level for years. And that whole manufactured candidacy and all the lies of the media and the covering up and the, the disinfo, trying to, make Joe Biden into something he wasn't, a great president, a great person. And, then the way he imploded and the Kamala Harris debacle. And that's all you should know. And the $2 billion she raised and all the money that got laundered and all this stuff. Like, at what point do you realize, oh, fuck, this is not getting better? Like, the politicians get worse, the people get worse. Look around at, obesity and, the childhood obesity and just the turbo cancer and the vaccine and the fucking COVID and, just the economy and the moral degradation and just all across the board. It's not getting better, right? I mean, we're listening to fucking Mark Epstein right now. like where did they exhume this motherfucker? Like, what?
Yesterday, we talked to a woman who accused your brother of sexual assault, and she also talked about an encounter with Trump at your brother's office.
Now, that woman, and I covered this yesterday, and I said, was that the worst story? And I guess she went back after that. After that weird interaction with Trump and Jeffrey Epstein where Trump said that, no, you're not 16, and she was a 25-year-old woman, and she went back after that, right? Why would you do that? And now she said she's got cancer twice. I covered this in my last video that's up today, 23rd. This video will be tomorrow on the 24th. But just why are you going back, right? Like, why are you going back? Didn't you? She said she was broke. She was a broke artist that Jeffrey Epstein hired. But Jesus Christ, like these guys just, like they radiate creepiness. You look at the pictures of them, and they're just two creepy old fucking guys, right?
This was in 1995. She found it disturbing. She said she told the FBI twice to look into people around your brother, including Trump. But she talked about this incident that she said happened in his office. And the White House, their response to us, Mark, they were categorical. They said, quote, the president was never in Epstein's office. Is that true?
That's just another blatant lie, because he was there. The people that worked for Jeffrey in his office, you can find them. They can testify that they saw Trump in Jeffrey's office on numerous occasions. So for him to say he wasn't there, all I can say is that's just another lie.
So you talk about him as your brother, and you're.
It's like who's watching CNN? That if you're a Democrat, that you need this kind of. I mean, we know they were pals. There's pictures of them. There's videotape of them. There's all these videos. There's a thing that Trump said about him. There's a creepy thing Trump said about his daughters. There's all the creepy pictures of Trump with women. There's all the allegations against Trump. And, even if only a few of them are true, I mean, Trump himself has talked about this. The things that are in his divorce is Ivanka saying that, Ivana Trump saying that she raped her in the divorce documents, like the shit like that. It's just, I mean, Trump is a fucking creep, right? And so, like, it's just the Trumpers. I mean, everyone else sees it. Like, no one else believes that Trump isn't a creep. Like, I mean, some of it's contrived. Some of it might be, like, made up. Some of it might be crisis actors. I mean, whatever. But like, how much information do you need? Like, Trump is saying he's a creep. All the videos of Joe Biden sniffing and smelling and groping and, doing all that shit with those kids and those women and the videos and all the stuff that he did. Where the senators were being sworn in, all that stuff. Like, you knew they were creepy. Joe Biden and Trump are both really fucking creepy. And so are a lot of these other guys. Like, I mean, who isn't creepy? Right? Chuck Schumer, he's creepy as fuck, right? Skifty Skift, he's creepy, weird. They're all fucking weird. They're all fucking creepy and weird. And just, I mean, Trump is, and brags about this stuff with women and all that stuff. And so it's like, they're going to, at some point, like, what do you think? You're going to talk enough about it and the Trumpers are going to finally realize? Because the Trumpers aren't even watching CNN. Like, who is this for, right? I mean, they're trying to keep the story going. I understand that. But, like, Mark Epstein, how many Epsteins are there?
You were on the plane together at that time. When did your brother first tell you that he was in legal trouble? When did you know anything about what he was doing?
It was about 2006 when he first got into trouble. It's known prior to Jeffrey's death. I hadn't seen him for 7 years, although we were always in touch, communication with telephone or emails, but we just never got together. And for the 12 years prior to that period of time, from like 2004 until 2008, we only got together maybe a half a dozen times or so, but we were always in contact. And in 2006, Jeffrey asked me to come up to his place uptown. He wanted to talk to me. So I was uptown. I stopped by. I'm not uptown all that much back then. I live downtown, and I sort of joke. I say to go above 14th Street, I need a visa. But so I went to talk to him, and that's when he told me that he was getting in trouble for being with girls that were too young. He said he was stupid, but he wanted me to hear it from him as opposed to hearing it on the news or something. And that's when I first found out, in 2006.
All right, and the reason that this is so important is trying to understand what the people around Epstein would have known, separate from what any of them might have also been doing, right? So I guess the question here then, Mark, is did you have any suspicions before Jeffrey's confession to you that he was involved with underage girls?
No, because I rarely saw him, so I didn't know what he was involved with. We had different lives. He had his friends, and I had my friends. We traveled in two separate circles in a sense. A few people we knew together, but, he was more in the financial community uptown. I was more involved with the arts community downtown. So we had two separate lives, but we were brothers. We always stayed in touch. But the thing is, Aaron, the thing with the charges against him, that's really not my concern at this point in time. Jeffrey is dead. So, I'm not the prosecutor. I'm not his defense attorney. I'm more concerned with the circumstances around what I now consider his murder.
Right. So
that's unsolved.
Boom, it's murder. Go boom.
I want to ask you that, okay, because the Department of Justice issued that memo earlier this month, right? It's at the core of a lot of this that reads in part, and I quote, Mark, after a thorough investigation, FBI investigators concluded that Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide in his cell. Now, you say you were the one called to identify his body. You had conversations at that time, and you do not accept this finding.
No, I don't, because what they don't mention in the report, and no one says, is that, after Jeffrey died, the next day I had to go to, number one, to identify his body because I'm the next of kin. There's only heir. And they did the autopsy then. And Dr. Roman, who was the city pathologist, it was her autopsy. And Dr. Bondman was there on my behalf because I had the right to have, the family has the right to have their own pathologist there. And they did the autopsy, and they came out of the autopsy a couple hours later, and they both concurred that they could not call this a suicide because it looked too much like a homicide.
Boom. Bombshell shit CNN's burying here at the end of this interview. His brother says that the two doctors involved were said it was a homicide.
They're very clear about that.
All right, Mark, thank you so much.
Boom. She's fucking ending this interview. She let him get that in. That's probably what he said that I want to talk about is fucking murder. And so his own fucking brother believes it's a murder. And the two doctors that were there thought it was a murder. And there was, this is all under Trump. Trump was president at the time. And so, like I said, I mean, who gives a shit? But it's all, lots of people do. But, you're never going to get to the bottom of it. But bombshell shit. And Trump disavowed Jeffrey Epstein in 2007. So he was charged. He was, they were investigating him in 2006. And all of a sudden Trump was like, hey, this guy's a creep. Right? So again, that's all you need to know. Here's the other one here.
Out front tonight, the breaking news, a CNN exclusive tonight out front. K-File has unearthed photos of Jeffrey Epstein that we've never seen, and they shed new light on his relationship with President Trump. The revelations come as Trump is under fire from his own base for his Justice Department's handling of the so-called Epstein files. Trump has tried, of course, to distance himself from Epstein every which way. But one of the photos that K-File found confirms that Epstein actually attended Donald Trump's wedding to Marla Maples. And this is the proof. Again, this has never been published before, so this is a new
Boom, the proof. He was at the wedding. He was invited to the wedding.
image. You haven't seen it out there on X or anything like that. This is the proof that Epstein attended Trump's wedding at the Plaza Hotel in New York. And in the photo, what you see is Epstein entering the Plaza Hotel. The wedding date of this is December 20th, 1993, in the center of their friendship, which of course continued. And for comparison, we'll show you on the right a photo of Trump and Marla Maples at the same location under the entryway arch.
Just to prove so you know she was at that wedding.
Andrew Kaczynski of K-File is here with the new images of Trump and Epstein. And Andrew, I shared one of them there. But, so let's start with the one at Trump's wedding. I mean, this is a significant development.
Boom. It's huge, fucking huge. He was at a wedding. He was at Trump's fucking wedding. I mean, he was invited. They were besties.
Well, yeah, it is. Trump's wedding to Marla Maples in 1993.
He was the best man.
It was dubbed the wedding of the century by the media at the time. And although we know that Trump and Epstein were friends during this period, this is really the first time that it's actually been reported that Trump invited Epstein to his wedding. This is, we should note, more than a decade before those first allegations of sex trafficking against Epstein. But as you know, Trump's relationship with Epstein has been under the microscope recently. Now, besides that one photo...
Has it fucking, whatever the fuck your name is?
...of Epstein entering the reception at the Plaza Hotel, we can also see him in the background of another picture. That's Howard Stern on the far right, along with...
Look at how creepy he is. Like, he just can't not be creepy, the guy.
Robin Leach from Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous, and Epstein is behind them.
Robin Leach. He's between Leach and Stern.
At the wedding, almost seeming to be photobombing them. We also found this photo from just a few months earlier. Donald Trump with two of his children talking to Jeffrey Epstein. That's at the opening of the Harley-Davidson Cafe in New York in October 1993. You can see Ivana there. She would have been just about to turn 12 years old in that photo.
Yeah, you can see Ivanka right there between.
You said Ivana, you meant Ivanka.
It's like between Trump and Epstein. All right, these are never before seen photos, Andrew. I know you also found some video of Trump and Epstein that was from later of them talking that has also never surfaced before. What's that?
Well, that's right. This is from 6 years later in 1999. This video has never been seen before in this context. It shows
he's putting his hand on his shoulder.
Trump talking to Jeffrey Epstein just before models hit the runway at the Victoria's Secret fashion show in New York in 1999. You know, the only other video we've seen of the two men was 7 years before this. Trump is at the show with Melania, who is, of course, now First Lady, seated a few feet away from Epstein. You can see them chatting during the show as well. Allegations that Epstein sexually abused underage girls didn't surface until 2005, years after this video was shot.
Right, but this,
there
of course,
they are together. Boom. They're sitting around the front row here.
Establishes them together, and obviously very friendly in 1999.
You know, so these things are coming back out. So I got a little video. I haven't seen it yet, but Don Lemons is about it here. She's like, just fucking, you know. I mean, it's overkill. Like, you just need that. All you need is that first quote, right? Because there are lots of people that are rumored to be, all these right-wing people, all these fucking fake-ass truthers, these Epstein file people, have had, you know, there's been all this disinformation about all these people that were on the Epstein plane, the Lolita Express, and also on Epstein Island, right? So there's just, you know, the rumors of names that you've heard over the years. And there's no bigger name than the president, Donald Trump's, right? And, you know, Trump said he was a terrific guy. There's that video where they're at that party, and then there's all the pictures of them together. And then there's all the things that they were connected. He said he wished Ghislaine Maxwell well because, you know, they knew each other. They lived in the same place. They lived in Palm Beach. And they associate with each other, like more so than any other person. I don't know anybody who's closer to Jeffrey Epstein than Trump is, right? And yet the Trumpers somehow denied all of that with this thing that he kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago in 2007 after Epstein was charged. Like, that was the time that Trump distanced himself from him. You know, when he thought, like, this is what Trump does. Trump disavows people. He's the most disloyal person when the person falls on hard times. Like, he was, you know, best friends with Jeffrey Epstein until Jeffrey Epstein, and they, you know, he was doing the same shit. But he was like, oh man, this could come back to haunt me. Trump was always like this, right? Trump was always skirting the law. He was always like, you know, just this close to being indicted for one thing or another, financial crimes or whatever it might be. You know, Trump's just a scumbag. And the Trumpers just won't fucking admit it. Like, it's just, I mean, like now their like heads are exploding because what was right in fucking front of them for years. You know, I mean, that was the first quote I found when I was doing Epstein stuff before, like when I was making Epstein videos. That comment from Trump, you know, this was before Trump was even running for president, right? So, you know, then when it happened, the second go round, all that stuff came out, right? And so it's right in your fucking face, right? You know, Trump has been associated with these beautiful young women, so-called beautiful young women, models and whatever they are, porn stars and all of it. Like, he's got this association, like a reputation. Again, he cheated on Melania, obviously, with a porn star and then other women. Like, all the stuff that was known about Trump, the things he bragged about. He bought the Miss USA pageant contest for that reason. Like, he was at these events, these fashion shows. He was just, you know, like, into this stuff. And then the stuff he said, grab him by the pussy, all the other things. So Trump was known for this. This was his thing. Like, this was not something that people didn't know about Trump all the way through, before the apprentice years, like all these things. Trump was like a attention-seeking, young woman pursuing kind of thing, right, guy. So it's totally believable before this stuff that Trump was with underage girls, before the association with Jeffrey Epstein. Like, it isn't out of character for him. And, I knew Trump more than any of these right-wing people in terms of, like, knew of him because I watched The Apprentice. My brother was a big Trump fan. He DJ'd Trump's, he was doing DJing, and Trump's daughter was at one of the events, I mean, shit like that, right? My brother was driving a limousine and often from Connecticut to New York, and was there in New York around Trump Tower and whatever it is, right? And, the people that were Trump, the people who watched The Apprentice, it wasn't right-wing people. It wasn't like a bunch of right-wing conservatives. Like, the people who are really big Trumpers now, they weren't fans of The Apprentice. They didn't watch that show. It was like liberal, people, New York people, whatever, right? It was, that was Trump's audience. Like, Trump wasn't, he wasn't a Republican. No one thought of him as a Republican. I mean, maybe there's some Republicans who like the money thing, moneyed Republicans, that kind of Republican, like not the Christian evangelical conservative Republican, but the rich Republicans, right? And so it's easy for anybody who knew Trump and his reputation to believe any of this stuff about him. Like, he's always been a scumbag. Like, he was always, if you saw him, if you go watch The Apprentice, and he was kind of creepy with the girls and, just all of the things, right? Just the way he was being. And, what his reputation was. And he bragged about it, right? Like he said, it's said that Jeffrey likes beautiful women as much as I do. Like, that was, part of his quote. But he likes them young. And he was, laughing about it. Because he knew about it. Like, he was complicit. Like, there's no fucking doubt about it. And so these fucking moronic Trumpers who made Trump into a false god, like a false image, like a reincarnation of Jesus. Anyways, the Don Lemon video wasn't, it was from the one of Barack Obama. I thought there was one of him reacting to the new stuff. And who gives a shit? But this guy who's just a fucking, his asshole, like just a piece of shit in his own right. Like, he gets to say something that I said yesterday here.
Now, Jane, I want to ask you, did there come a time in your life when you met someone named Jeffrey Epstein? Answer yes. What year was that? Answer 1994. Did there come a time in your life when you had sexual contact with Jeffrey Epstein? Answer yes. How old were you when that first happened? Answer 14 years old. Donald Trump was friends with Jeffrey Epstein that day, that very day in 1994 when Jeffrey Epstein raped that 14-year-old girl. That testimony was given under oath in the criminal trial of Jeffrey Epstein's
Now all of a sudden these guys are all about Jeffrey Epstein, right? Like, Trump has turned this, Trump by doing what he's doing. They weren't covering this before. Like, this guy didn't cover, he could have covered this before. Like, whatever reason, they've never covered this. This has never been their thing. Maybe a little bit here, a little bit there when it came up. As just, there's the overwhelming Epstein movement in the right wing and, Fox News, whatever it was. And then they would try to connect this to Trump because, there's connections, but it wasn't their thing. It was, this guy wasn't doing what Candace Owens is doing and these other people. Deep dives into the Epstein world. But now Donald Trump has pushed himself into this thing by saying it was a left-wing conspiracy out to get him. And then all of a sudden these guys are like, hey, let's jump on this fucking thing, right? But Trump has made this into a Democratic issue, which, you know, he thinks that's going to help him with his base. But, I mean, they're going to be pulling more information out now. And, you know, and Fox News is going to be left sitting there like, you know, the odd man out. But, you know, the people who are into Epstein, they're not going to be like, oh, I had it all wrong. Because Trump looks guilty as fuck, right?
Conspirator in sex trafficking, Ghislaine Maxwell. In 2002, Donald Trump said he was friends with Jeffrey Epstein for 15 years. That means their friendship began in and around 1987, 7 years before Jeffrey Epstein raped the 14-year-old girl whose testimony you just heard. And during that time, when Jeffrey Epstein was raping children, Donald Trump publicly called Jeffrey Epstein a terrific guy. That victim, whose testimony you just heard, was asked if Jeffrey Epstein raped her more than once.
Use your glasses on. Jesus Christ. This guy's so fucking creepy. He's also fucked up.
Question. Did that happen once or more than once when you were 14 years old? Answer, more than once. Question. Was there ever anyone else in the room with you when you had sexual contact with Jeffrey Epstein when you were
Is it going to be Donald Trump?
14 years old? Answer, yes. Question. Who was most frequently in the room when you had sexual contact with Jeffrey Epstein when you were 14 years old? Answer, Ghislaine Maxwell. The only thing Donald Trump has ever said about Ghislaine Maxwell since she was convicted of sex trafficking and abusing that girl was, I wish her well. That's the only sentiment Donald Trump has ever expressed about Ghislaine Maxwell.
Boom. The word.
After she was convicted of co-conspiring with child rapist Jeffrey Epstein. I wish her well. Ghislaine Maxwell is serving a 20-year sentence tonight in federal prison, and she knows that the President of the United States, who wishes her well, also has the power to release her from prison immediately. Donald Trump can commute her sentence. Donald Trump can pardon her. Donald Trump can just say she's been punished enough. And tonight, Donald Trump's criminal defense lawyer is using the Trump method of going public when possibly trying to subvert the law. Donald Trump's last criminal defense lawyer, Todd Blanche, who is now the Deputy Attorney General, announced on Twitter that he is in talks with Ghislaine Maxwell's lawyer, and he said, I intend to meet with her soon, and no good can possibly come from that meeting. Todd Blanche's tweet actually says, for the first time, the Department of Justice is reaching out to Ghislaine Maxwell to ask, what do you know? At Attorney General Pam Bondi's direction, I've contacted her counsel. I intend to meet with her soon. No one is above the law and no lead is off limits. Now,
except for Trump, because these are Trump people.
Todd Blanche is lying so obviously because we know that any lead on Donald Trump is off limits. We know that about the Trump Justice Department, and we know that about Todd Blanche, Donald Trump's criminal defense lawyer. Todd Blanche has already contacted Ghislaine Maxwell's criminal defense lawyer. And the only reason for Ghislaine Maxwell's criminal defense attorney to talk to Todd Blanche is to get her out of prison. Any criminal defense lawyer would be able to tell Ghislaine Maxwell exactly what she has to say to get out of prison. She has to say Donald Trump knew nothing about it. Donald Trump knew nothing about what we were doing to the...
You know, that's, of course, if she came out and said Donald Trump knew nothing about it, like, people would be like, oh my God, she's been compromised, because there's not, even the Trumpers will know that. Like, it's silly. Like, it's, you know, like, what Trump should do is just say, yeah, I support the full release of all this information. It's, you know, it's not a Democratic conspiracy. Let's get to the bottom of this. I understand people that voted for me are passionate about this. And, you know, whatever. But it's too late for him now. Like, he fucked it up, right? I mean, I don't know if he did this intentionally or was told to or just he's that stupid, but this guy's got to get to the point here, which is the point I made yesterday, with Trump saying, "I wish her well," which is so fucked up. Why would he wish her well? Who else wishes Ghislaine Maxwell well?
Those girls. And it would be very helpful to Donald Trump if Ghislaine Maxwell was also willing to say something incriminating about other prominent people who knew Jeffrey Epstein, like maybe Bill Clinton. And Todd Blanche is exactly who Donald Trump would send to Ghislaine Maxwell's criminal defense lawyer to offer a get-out-of-jail deal if that's what they are up to. Of course, Ghislaine Maxwell had the chance to tell the Justice Department everything she knew. And she refused to do that. She refused to say a word to federal prosecutors. She refused to cooperate with the Justice Department when the Justice Department would have been happy to accept truthful testimony from her about Jeffrey Epstein when he was still alive. Ghislaine Maxwell and her criminal defense lawyer now know they are dealing with the most corrupt Department of Justice in American history, and the only incentive that Ghislaine Maxwell and her lawyer have to speak to Todd Blanche is to give Todd Blanche the magic words that he can pass on to Donald Trump to get Ghislaine Maxwell out of prison. Ghislaine Maxwell was convicted by a jury in Manhattan, and she is currently appealing her case. Most appeals of criminal conviction.
Anyways, this guy, let's see if we can move forward here.
By congressional investigators in the Epstein files. We know it from that testimony. Has to be in the Epstein files just for that point. Because that would have come up in investigative discussions with the FBI, and they would have put that in the files. The first name, a 14-year-old girl. Donald Trump has never said, "I wish her well," about that victim of Jeffrey.
So this is what I was saying yesterday, and it's very obvious that Donald Trump does not give a shit about these girls, right? Like fucking, his supporters are obsessed with these girls, right, or whatever, kids in general, human trafficking. And Donald Trump saying, "I wish her well" to Ghislaine Maxwell. Why in the world would you wish Ghislaine Maxwell well? Like, that's how warped Trump is and how oblivious he is to what people think or feel about this whole thing. And so that's Trump. Then we get this guy here.
He has said that he wants all the credible files related to Epstein to be released. He's asked the Attorney General to request the grand jury files of the court. All of that is in process right now. My belief is we need the administration to have the space to do what it is doing, and if further congressional action is necessary or appropriate, then we'll look at that. But I don't think we're at that point right now because we agree with the president.
So no vote on this resolution before?
No.
This is the White House Director of Legislative Affairs. I'm just kidding. That was the Speaker. Tim Miller. This is an issue that should be easy for them, like even easier than tariffs, which their voters don't want, even easier than, it should all be pretty easy because their voters do not want cuts to Medicaid, but their voters are ravenous for the Epstein files and they can't even vote to release them. What is this?
So Mike Johnson blocked the vote the Democrats and some of the Republicans were calling for. And so, for dumb fuck, I've been covering the dumb fuck Trumpers for a while now. And, for years, but I didn't call them that. But like now it's, they're oblivious to Trump's failure as a human being and as a president, which is evident now. Like, it's more evident now than ever. Because Trump is being Trump. Trump is going full Trump, right? Trump is Trump, right? Like, this is Trump being full-on Trump. And it's a disaster. Like, it's a fucking disaster. And, I have a different opinion than most people because I believe that the system should come down. Not that I'm actively working to make it come down because I don't have to. It's not my job. But, I know it's a bad system, like we all do. And economically, but morally, and just taking people in the wrong direction, it's a demonic system. And Trump is, bringing a system down that's based in God's will. But he's not doing it because he's doing God's work. He's doing it because he's just the right type of piece of shit to do that work, right? But, you know, these dumb fuck Trumpers who are now realizing that Trump is a piece of shit. He's always been a piece of shit, and it's been right in your fucking face, and he's always been Jeffrey Epstein's bestie. And it's been right there. And you didn't want to see it. Like, they didn't want to fucking see it. And, you know, it's not just about them. It's about fucking people in general. That we just make shit up. People just make shit up to believe in things and to, you know, deny reality. And this is a denial of reality. And, you know, I don't know how this thing's going to end up with the Trumpers, but I know how the overall thing is going to end up. There's going to be no resolution. There's going to be, you know, there's like the Trump thing won't stick to him in a way where he's impeached or like any of these things. I mean, I assume that's not going to happen. And, you know, he'll survive this thing. And maybe he'll lose some supporters and then the midterms will roll around and whatever the fuck happens. But, you know, the truth has already come out. Like, the truth is about so many things has already come out. It's just that people won't see it because they don't want to see it, and it's not coming out in a way where there's no official truth people out there, you know, in the official story. The media isn't believable anymore. Scientists aren't believable anymore. Politicians have never been really believable. And so whenever anything comes out, and people now are, you know, people are encouraged in kind of weird ways because of the internet and social media to have critical thinking skills, and many people just don't have them. They think they have critical thinking skills, but they don't. And they're encouraged to voice their opinions on social media. And people just will say stupid shit about, you know, evidence. You've dealt with your sheeple friends and even your right-wing truther Trump friends or whatever, you know, or just people in general. You can show them slam dunk evidence and they still won't believe it. Like, there could be spaceships hovering over the earth and people think it's a fucking hoax, you know. There's just whatever it is, like, people just will believe what they want to believe. And that's what this is showing you. Everyone's created their own fucking version of reality. And then, you know, how this plays out doesn't really matter because people aren't functional right now. They're not functional. And I've known this for quite some time. And that's as big of a, you know, a thing as anything else about the end of our civilization. And so, you know, it's kind of great. Like, it's, you know, it's funny and it's great. But Trump has always been Jeffrey Epstein's biggest guy. Like, Trump is the whale in the Epstein case, and the Republicans didn't know it, and the Epstein people didn't know it. And they thought they were going to release these files, and that Trump was into it. And he clearly has never been. That's been evidence in my, you know, 3 videos ago. All the things he said about it. He's always been lukewarm about it in a way that he's, you know, he's worried about being incriminated. And now it's like it's right there. It's come to it, where the Trumpers are pushing for something that will bring down their guy. And they never thought about that way because they just believed his bullshit. And it's just, you know, I mean, all his fucking lies and stuff. It's kind of hilarious and, you know, but nothing's going to change because the truth is there all the time and people just don't see it. I mean, the truth is there. There's enough information about all these things where a person with common sense can get a general sense of it. You're not going to get all the details right, but you get a general sense of it because it's just there. They're not even faking it now anymore. And it's just like so obvious. And there's so much information. We have so much information. And like, you know, Trump is who Trump, like, you know, says he is. And he's a scumbag piece of shit, womanizing, you know, low-life fucking grifter. Like, he's telling everybody this. I mean, he's not hiding it. And the Trumpers just can't fucking see it, right? So all right. Let's wrap this one up here. Only spirituality will save this world. This power of Bible definitely pointing for the apocalypse and the ascension. Everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.